Welcome to MMA on the Rocks. My name is Bill Welker. You are listening to episode 247 of the podcast, unless you're joining us live on Facebook or YouTube. If you want to catch the show live, don't forget, subscribe on YouTube, turn on your notifications so you know every time we're going live, like right now. Today's Sunday, June 27th. We're coming off of all kinds of combat sports madness from over the weekend. But before we get into any of that, let me introduce who is running a little behind tonight, all the way from New Jersey. He's on summertime, folks, because school's out. Jeff, the animal, Wilson. Jeff, how you feeling on this late Sunday evening, my friend? It's past my bedtime, kid.
Bill, I feel fantastic. Done with school for the year, finished up on Thursday. The only work I'm doing over the summer is coaching girls JV soccer, which I'm really excited for. Pays a nice chunk of change, which I won't see until the end of the season. But I'll probably forget about it by then, so it'll be a nice surprise.
Better than finding $20 in your winter coat.
Bill, it's better than getting pissed on by my daughter, which I know you know all about, Bill.
I can't say I've been pissed on.
Yeah, I've just been pissed off, which is considerably not as bad.
Jeff, tell the people why you're running late this evening.
Oh yeah, my laptop wasn't starting up because pain in the ass. And I wasn't going to use my work laptop, Bill, because it's in the car.
Mm-hmm. And where's your car?
It's in my driveway, Bill. Where else would my car be?
So many steps from the house.
Bill, it's hot outside. I have whatever weather you're having down there. I'm getting the leftovers of whatever tropical storm is in your neck of the woods, Bill.
Yeah. Well, speaking of storms, let me tell you why I'm having laptop issues, Jeff. I was telling you before we started recording here that I'm on the wife's laptop. I had a little mishap with my laptop yesterday, Jeff. It was just one of those days where nothing was going right. So I was outside cleaning up the yard, using my new leaf vacuum, and I had my laptop out there because the fights were on in the middle of the day. So I'm trying to watch, UFC Vegas 30, while I'm getting some yard work done. Starts thundering, Jeff. So I'm like, oh, shit. I have a little screen house. Let me put the laptop in the screen house. Put it down on the table next to my cup of water. So I'm like, well, there's leaves inside the screen house. Let me go inside there and just vacuum up those leaves real quick. And then I'll just sit in there and watch the fights. And I knocked over the cup of water with the cord to the leaf vacuum and spilled the entire cup of water onto my laptop, and it's fucked. So here I am on the wife's laptop, and it's a Windows machine. I'm a Mac guy, so I'm like, everything's on the opposite side of the screen. I'm so disoriented. I'm so pissed off at myself.
Bill, that's something Claudia does.
I know.
Walk her onto the laptop.
She wasn't home, so I guess one of us had to be the klutz. And it's the kind of thing, like, I've been toying with the idea of replacing the laptop for a while. It's like 7 years old now, but it's just one of those things like, it still runs. But then, there's stuff like my internet cuts out on the show every other week. So, maybe a new laptop will mitigate those kind of issues, but I wasn't really anticipating that kind of purchase in my life at this juncture, but it is what it is. You got to just deal with things as they come up,
Oh, Bill, I hear you. I'm probably going to start looking for a new laptop probably next school year, because I'm trying to keep the budget tight, Bill.
Yeah.
You know why. Hopefully, in a few years, I'll be able to share with our listeners. But Bill, yeah, laptops are a pain in the ass, dude. It's like having a pet, except it's not as fun.
Yeah, I have like three material possessions that I like, Jeff. I'm pretty much a minimalist. Aside from like my whiskey collection, I have like my laptop, um, my guitars, and maybe like one other thing, if that. But like, there's not a whole lot of earthly possessions that mean a lot to me. I'm just not.
I didn't hear you mention your rash guards once in that entire.
I don't need rash guards, Jeff. I'll go bare chested. I'll unleash the beast. Yeah, I mean, of course, I'll have to grab my Team Reaper gear. If there's ever a fire in the house, I'm grabbing the laptop. Well, now I'm not grabbing the laptop. I'll let that thing burn. Maybe it's just a Mac paperweight now. Yeah, I did dry it off. I took the bottom off and I dried out the inside, and it turns on, but it basically like a message pops up and goes, "Hey, your computer's fucked. You should take it to Apple."
Dude,
and I'm like,
you should have put it in a bag of rice, and the rice would have soaked up all the water that was in it.
Jeff, I'm not going to eat it.
No, you don't eat the laptop. You eat the rice.
They call that rice and apples.
Oh, man.
I'll tell you one quick funny story about the kiddo before we get into some violence here, Jeff. I was FaceTiming my mom yesterday, and she was telling me how my brother had been working out. So my daughter and I were talking to her, and well, I don't know how it came up. My mom's like, "Oh yeah, your brother's working out now. I think his arms are bigger than yours." So I'm trying to get the kid to shine my wheels a little bit. I'm like, "Ariana, who's got the biggest muscles?" And she goes, "I do. I'm a demigod." And then she flexes. And I don't know where it came from. It's like, kids say the darndest things. I don't know where she came up with that. I'm a demigod.
It's from watching Maui.
Yeah. It turns out that's what it was, but it was just so random that she came up with that.
Oh man,
the kid's witty. I don't know where she gets it from, Jeff.
Yeah, maybe having kids isn't all that bad.
Yeah, it's fun sometimes.
Yeah, but I don't know. Too many cons, Bill. Too many cons.
Yeah, more cons than a prison.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into some fights, Jeff. There was a lot of fun stuff over the weekend. We had UFC, we had some boxing, we had some bare knuckle boxing. So I know we both watched the UFC. I know you watched boxing. I watched some bare knuckle stuff because I had a teammate on the card. Where do you want to start? I'll leave it up to you.
Bill, why don't we start with UFC and then we'll talk about the boxing after? Because Bill, I'm not gonna lie to you. I actually forgot that this card was on as early as it was, and then you texted me if I was watching the fights, and I said, "Oh snap! I forgot the fights are on early," so I started putting them on. Bill, I was not disappointed, man. This card was ridiculous. Like, I didn't watch the first two fights on the prelims, but I watched every other fight, and I was pleasantly surprised, man. This card had everything. It had controversy, had eye pokes, dick shots, decisions, crazy finishes. Bill, why don't we start with the top of the card here? Why don't we start with the main event? Because that was actually the least eventful fight on this card.
I actually love this fight. I saw a lot of people, complaining about it. And the complaint was that Gane didn't finish the fight, but my thing was he never let Volkov in the fight. This was it was a masterful striking performance against a striker. And we know that Gane would probably have an advantage if this went to the ground. And a lot of people were saying that would be his best path to victory. But he was able to outpoint Volkov on the feet. He wasn't letting him get any offense going. And in the pre-fight, where they showed him training and stuff, they had like a medicine ball like duct taped to the top of a heavy bag to simulate the height of Volkov's chin. And so he's like uppercutting this thing, but he was landing the combinations in the fight that he's drilling on this heavy bag with a medicine ball duct tape to it. Here's a guy who only has 9 MMA fights. Use that to put it into perspective. People were talking about how Adesanya put on a striking clinic against Marvin Vettori. I thought this was a much more dominant striking performance for a guy with much less experience as an MMA fighter. And you got to remember, Adesanya wasn't finishing people when he first came in from kickboxing. And I don't know, man. He was chewing up Volkov's legs, just beating him to the punch everywhere. It was a really clear-cut victory. And yeah, that's not why people watch heavyweights. People watch heavyweights to see somebody, get their skull rearranged. But you can't deny Gane as a top contender now. What were your thoughts on the fights, Jeff?
Oh yeah, Bill. I thought Gane looked amazing in there. And when I say that the fight was not as interesting as the rest of the card, I'm saying because of how spectacular the rest of the card was. It kind of felt like I went through an adrenaline dump, man. Like, after everything that had occurred, all the finishes, I'd say most of these fights were finishes. And even the decisions, like that fight between Tim Means and Nicholas Dalby was nuts. But like to go from all that to Gane dominating Volkov, I think was the only thing I can compare it to is an emotional adrenaline dump, I would say. But Bill, I'm taking nothing away from Gane, dude. He did to Volkov what he did to
Rosenstrike.
Thank you, Rosenstrike. It wasn't pretty, but it was effective. And like you said, man, he neutralized Volkov's offense. Volkov, somebody gave him around one of the judges on the scorecards. I didn't see it that way, but I think Gane's fight IQ is absolutely fantastic. Bill, I don't think he's ready for a title shot yet, just because he's a little inexperienced. Doesn't have 10 pro MMA fights yet. But man, his fight IQ, Bill, has to be up there with like what's that coach's name? TJ Dillashaw's coach. I can't remember his name from Team Alpha Male. Bang something. But
Dwayne Ludwig?
Yeah, Dwayne Ludwig. I feel like he has a good fight IQ as well. But man, like Ciryl Gane dude, the game plan was perfect. And there might have been some things that maybe he accounted for going wrong, but none of that popped up, you know? So great performance from Ciryl Gane, man. Definitely a very cerebral approach to this fight.
Yeah, he looked like a real Ciryl Killer in there.
Bill, that's the name of the episode. There you go.
I had to fit that one in. Yeah, I would like to see him. I mean, there's not a ton of wrestlers. I mean, Curtis Blade's pretty much the only one, but I would like to see him tested against a wrestler. But, at the same time, it doesn't really matter because it's heavyweight. Like, you could get to the title shot without ever fighting a wrestler. Yep. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what else you do with him. Maybe Derek Lewis. If Lewis doesn't fight Ngannou, there's not a whole lot else you can do with Ciryl Gane. I mean, because you can't have him fight anybody who's ranked below Volkov now because he's beaten Volkov, and there's only a handful of guys ahead of him. I would think Curtis Blades. I would think Derek Lewis. Obviously, the champ Ngannou, Stipe. Do you put him in there with Stipe?
Absolutely not, man. Ready for Stipe. Maybe a Junior Dos Santos. I know he's not ranked anymore, but I think it's still a very good test for him.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see. We'll see what they do with him. He was a little passive when they asked him, what he wanted to do next. He was like, well, if the UFC wants to give me a title shot, I'll take it. That's not the way to get the title shot. You got to be like, I just beat Volkov. Give me a title shot. And then maybe you'll get it. But I like Gane, man. I've been high on him for a while. And you can't fault the guy for doing what he had to do. I mean, Volkov is still a dangerous guy. He still had to be in there with him for 25 minutes. And Volkov, even when he got knocked out by Derek Lewis, he was dominating that fight with his striking. So he's one of the top strikers in the division, but you wouldn't know it when he was in there with the 9-0 Ciryl Gane. Let's go to the co-main event here, Jeff. This was kind of an odd one. A little bit of controversy here. And just like kind of generally weird. Tanner Boser gets the second round KO finish over Ovince St. Preux. I don't know what it is, but I just don't like OSP at heavyweight. And he didn't even look bad in his first fight at heavyweight against Ben Rothwell, but I just feel like he's a little bit slower, a little bit less explosive. Like he doesn't have that same presence that he does, like the same athleticism that he does at light heavyweight. Maybe it's just me, but he had his moments in this fight until it was over. And there was, the one time where Boser got up from bottom and allegedly grabbed the cage. When you look at it on the replay, it looks like he didn't grab the cage. It looks like he just kind of pushed off of it with the back of his hand, which is legal. But Ovince is contesting the result of this fight, and good luck with that. But what were your thoughts on this co-main event, Jeff?
Yeah, Bill, my immediate response was that it was a fence grab. But then on the replay, Paul Felder kind of pointed out that his fist was closed as he was pushing off. I mean, it's tough, Bill, because I want to say that instance changed the fight completely. But again, I'd have to look at some other angles for quote unquote the fence grab.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, dude, I mean, credit to Boser for doing what he's supposed to do. Finish the fight, which was awesome. And I don't know, Bill. I liked OSP. He was looking good up until the finish. Felt like he had a really good first round. Boser finished on his back in that first round. Never a good look.
Mm-hmm.
Started the second round on his back. But at the same time, I don't know, man. With OSP, I like him at heavyweight.
Mm-hmm.
But I would just like him to not be at, I think he walked in at like 240. Maybe not that heavy.
Mm-hmm.
But I like the extra size on him. I think maybe like going at like 225. So he's not carrying.
That would be, that would probably be the ideal weight class for him. I'd like to see him like back at 205 and motivated. I still think he could probably be a contender. At the heavier weights, you can go a little bit older. But I like OSP. He's always had a fun style. And, credit to Boser. He won. And it was a good point that the fight kind of, the momentum shifted when Boser got up from the bottom with the alleged fence grab. And that can happen because if you're controlling a guy on the ground and he gets up and you're like, oh, but he cheated, I would have held him down otherwise. And then you start thinking about that, and all of a sudden you're getting punched in the mouth. You don't want to be distracted by those kinds of thoughts. And some guys are more than others. There's a lot of mental strength and fortitude that comes into play with this sport. Not that OSP doesn't have it, but sometimes things fuck with your head while you're in there. Timur Valiev, majority decision over Hani Barcelos. Barcelos?
I think it's Barcelos.
Barcelos. All right. It's this laptop, Jeff. I don't have my monitor attached. I don't have my spectacles. So I'm like Barcelos. All right. And is it Valiev or Valiev? It's Valiev, right?
I think it's Valiev.
Well, fuck, it's just not my night tonight.
Yeah. Bill, don't. I was watching this with the volume off because I was listening to music, so I didn't hear how either of the commentators pronounced it.
All right. Well,
Bill, just call John Anik. He'll know.
Yeah, right. Let's get him on the phone. So Valiev, we'll go with, gets a majority decision. So one judge scored it a draw, and the other two judges gave it to Valiev. I scored the fight for Valiev, but after the fight ended, I was like, I would have scored it for him, but I think the judges are going to give it to Barcelos. And then they didn't. They gave it to Valiev because, Valiev was like counter striking that first round, and he was backing up a lot. He had his back against the cage. And then Barcelos had a big round. Was it the second or third? He had like a really big round, the second round. And then the third round, Valiev, kind of, regained his composure. But I could have saw, possibly a 10-8 in that second round for Barcelos. And I could have seen also the judges giving the first round to Barcelos because he was pressuring, he was moving forward. And while I don't agree with that, I know that that's typically what judges look at when they're judging fights. Give me your thoughts on this one, Jeff.
Bill, I agree with you on this. I actually thought Barcelos had won this fight, especially after that second round, dude. Like Valiev looked like he was out of it. He was looking at the lights. He looked like he kind of didn't know where he was. But the problem was that Barcelos ran out of gas actually in that second round. So instead of grounding and pounding him, he was leaning on him, like trying to hug him. And, he just ran out of gas, man. In my head, I was like, dude, you're so close. Just stand, just posture and throw an elbow, and you're there. Dude, tough night for Barcelos. I thought he had it.
Mark Fellows says it's Barcelos, his Brazilian cousin.
Oh, man.
I'm not gonna forget how to pronounce that now.
Yeah.
Barcelos. All right.
Yeah.
I got it now. I got it. Phonetics are fun. So probably the most unfortunate result on the card had to be the Andre Fili Daniel Pineda fight. This fight was wild, Jeff. Fili was piecing Pineda up. He hit him with a 3-piece and a head kick at one point, and Pineda didn't go down. He was cut over his eye, bleeding from everywhere, but still chewing up Fili's leg. This was a wild fight. It was looking like Fili was going to run away with it because, Pineda couldn't take much more. He even said at the end of the fight, like, yeah, he was fucking me up. What can I say? And then obviously for those who listen to the show and don't watch the fights, I know there are a few of you out there. Andre Fili in the second round accidentally poked Daniel Pineda in the eye. And this was one of the ballsiest reactions to an eye poke I've ever seen, because he's in the corner with the doctor looking at him, and the doctor's giving him an out, like, I don't want to let you fight. He's like, no, I'm good. And the doctor covers Pineda's right eye and holds up his hand with 3 fingers. He's like, how many fingers am I holding up? And Pineda just guesses just so he can keep fighting. That's such a gangster move. He's like, he can't see the guy's hand at all. He's like, how many fingers? And he's like, 1. I guess, like, nobody ever holds up the thumb. So he's got, a 25% chance of being right. So he just goes with 1. But also, nobody ever holds up 1. So I probably would have guessed differently, but you got to give him credit for, wanting to stay in the fight so badly that he would lie about being able to see out of his eye, even though he knew he was getting his ass beat. So that's so much respect there, but really unfortunate for Feely because he gets robbed of a victory here. It was obviously an accident. It just kind of slipped his hand, like kind of bumped off of Pineda's chest, and his finger got him in the eye. But give me your thoughts on this one, Jeff.
Dude, Andre Feely was lighting this guy up like a Christmas tree, man. Like you said, that 3-piece and the head kick, dude, that would drop, I think, anybody else in this division. This featherweight division, man. Like
it might drop most guys a lightweight.
Dude, it might drop a few welterweights too, man. I mean, Andre Feely, he was just feeling it, man. Looked great in there. Basically, no trouble in the striking department. I thought he could have checked a few leg kicks better, but other than that, man, Pineda was getting the bricks beat off of him, man. It wasn't looking good for Pineda. I think it was probably closer to an Andre Feely finish until the eye poke happened. Unfortunately, I think maybe another minute. I think the fight's over. But man, really sad turn of events for Andre Feely. But go back and watch this fight because Andre Feely dominant first round and then just comes out like a bat out of hell for the second round, and unfortunately, the fight hadn't gone long enough for a decision to be made. But I think that anyone who's watched this fight, I think the consensus is that it was for Andre Feely here.
Yeah. I mean, could have been a 10-8 in that first round because the fight was almost stopped. It looked like Herb Dean was taking a hard look at Pineda a couple of times. Unfortunate, man, because, Feely even said he put so much into this camp and everything. And I would imagine the UFC is probably going to compensate him financially. I would imagine under the table, he's going to get his win bonus. I can't say that with any degree of certainty, but, I know they have a pretty good history of doing things like that. But now, like, I don't necessarily need to see this again, Jeff. I feel like we can move on. Maybe if they want a rematch in a few years, like after they both fought some other guys, but I don't need to see this run back. Like I saw the fight. I know who was going to win the fight if it had gone the distance or, if the eye poke hadn't happened. I don't need to see it run back. But I also, if this fight comes up again, I wouldn't be mad about watching it again. What are your feelings on that?
Well, I'm good either way. But I don't think Barcelos wants to go through that again, dude. I'm sorry, Pineda wants to go through that again, man. He was getting the bricks beat off of him.
Yeah. Barcelos, he might want to see it again.
Yeah, he definitely wants to run that one back, but not Pineda.
Let's see. I'll let you lead on this one, Jeff. Tim Means and Nicholas Dalby. Your thoughts here?
Bill, this fight was so exciting, man. So back and forth. So at the end of the first round, Nicholas Dalby ends the fight on his back, and he's getting some pressure from Tim Means, and Dalby's breathing heavy because Dalby at the beginning of the first round, he's just unloading with lefts and rights, and in Tim Means' face, and then Means is able to turn around, put Dalby on his back, and finish the round on top. Really back and forth just in that first round. And then Dalby comes back a little bit in the second round, and Tim Means able to close it out in the third round. Didn't finish the fight, but he did end on a really high note. And the decision across all the scorecards was 29-28. So I kind of had that second round for Dalby because, he was able to really dig deep and puts a lot of pressure on Tim Means. But I don't know if Tim Means got a little bit psyched out in that second round because Dalby was breathing really heavy at the end of that first round, dude. So it kind of looked like he had emptied the gas tank. So I think that threw Tim Means off a little bit.
Yeah. I was kind of wondering if there was possibly like a rib injury or something with Dalby, because he took some pretty hard body shots in that first round as well, which, could have been making it difficult for him to breathe. But, credit to him for powering through, coming back in that second round. And yeah, great performance by Tim Means. His wrestling looked good. Went back to his wrestling base. He's known as more of a striker. But, wrestling, good control on the ground as well. I was impressed by that. With Tim Means, especially a guy like Nicholas Dalby, who's, pretty explosive. Tim Means had, some really good, solid ground control there. Anything else on this one, Jeff?
No, but definitely go back and watch this one. This was a really fun fight. For me, I thought it was fight of the night. It did not get that. That went to Valiev versus Barcelos. That one was really back and forth too. But definitely Means versus Dalby, along with Valiev and Barcelos, definitely one to go back and check out.
Nice. Renato Moicano, second round rear naked choke over Jai Herbert. This was pretty one-sided. Moicano going back to his jiu-jitsu roots here. And, what can you say? Got it done. He looked good.
Yeah, definitely the best Renato Moicano we've seen in a while, man. Had some setbacks after getting knocked out by No Love Cody Garbrandt. But, Bill, he looked really good in there. Was really aggressive with his striking, man. His ground and pound was pretty vicious as well. And the finish, it was a rear naked choke submission, but Bill, I think he could have just ground and pounded the win out to Moicano, because he was beating the shit out of Herbert on the ground, and it was kind of a mercy kill to tap him out, man. But Moicano was just mean in this fight. Bill, I fucking loved it.
You're making me want to watch it again now.
Yeah, he was angry, Bill. I love it.
This one was on while I was vacuuming the leaves right before I fucking destroyed my laptop. This was the last fight I saw before I did that. And then I went inside and cried into a bowl of ice cream while I watched the rest of the fights. I could have really used an alcoholic beverage this weekend, Jeff. I feel like somebody out there is testing me. They're testing, if I'm going to make it. But I only got a few days left, Jeff. It's the 27th. Tomorrow's the 28th. So Tuesday at midnight, it's on. And I'll post. I'm going to have a little drink to celebrate making it through this month of sobriety here.
It's 31 days in it, doesn't it?
I don't think so, Jeff.
Yeah, so Wednesday into Thursday is when you can start drinking again.
Oh, son of a bitch.
Yeah, Bill.
No, Jeff, there's 30 days in June.
Yeah, but you said Tuesday.
Oh, I meant Wednesday.
Oh. All right, well, June 32nd into July 1st, you can start drinking again.
Yeah, June 32nd. I can't wait for June 32nd. Yeah, we'll return the show to normal. However, the following week, Jeff, I'll be on vacation for 2 weeks, going out to the West Coast. So we're gonna have to figure out. It's hard enough, like trying to align to do the show normally, but now we'll be in different time zones. It actually might be better because you get home at like 9 or 10 o'clock, so it'll be like 7 o'clock for me over there, which is, when I'm at my prime. Yeah, so where was I going with this? Yeah, alcohol. I feel pretty good. Dropped a few pounds. Skin is looking a little, vibrant, but I'll trade it all back, Jeff. Just give me the booze. I'll carry the extra weight. I'll wear my bags under my eyes. Just give it back to me.
You got that from being a dad. Now you got to be up early because your kid's jumping on you in the morning.
Yeah, well, I also got my dependency on alcohol from being a dad. So there's that. Shouldn't be joking about alcoholism, but it's funny. Let's see what else we got here. Kennedy Nzechukwu getting the TKO over Daniil Marquez. Damn, if you're Marquez, you spend 2 whole rounds basically on a guy's back just to get knocked out in the 3rd round. That's like if I made it through the whole month of June and I accidentally did have a drink on Tuesday night instead of Wednesday. I can never say that I made it through the whole month. But man, in Zechiku, I'm a fan, but I don't like seeing guys in these kinds of patterns where they're getting dominated for the beginning of a fight and then they come through, towards the end. It's not really a sustainable way to have a career. And he's a young guy. I think he's super talented, but like most of his experience already is in the UFC, if you include the Contender Series. But man, you can't deny the guy's resilience. I mean, he had, a really good grappler on his back, holding his weight. I mean, the first round was wild because these guys were both so tall, especially for this division, that, Marquez's head was like well over the cage while he was riding in Zechiku's back, hunting for that submission, punching him in the side of the head. But what do you think about this one, Jeff? These two big light heavyweights here.
Bill, I was shocked. I did not see that coming from Kennedy. Bill, how do you pronounce his last name again?
Nzechiku.
Got it. But yeah, I was surprised by Nzechiku because not really struggling, not in any particularly terrible spots, but Bill, you know how it is. Carrying somebody around who weighs the same as you, it's exhausting. And it puts a strain on your body. So I did not think that it was going to go well for Nzechiku here. But, dude, was able to pull it out at the end, ends up with a nice TKO finish, showing off some very, very powerful punches as well. So good for him, man. But yeah, Bill, I think you're right. I think he needs to work on his grappling a little bit because, like you said, this isn't a very sustainable way to survive in the light heavyweight division. You got to pull away early.
Yeah, especially if you're looking at the top. I mean, you've got, the champ, Jan Blachowicz, super technical grappler. If he gets on your back, it's not going to be, you're not just carrying his weight for 5 minutes. He's going to make you pay for letting him get there. But yeah, long road ahead before we have to worry about any of that. And yeah, it was just a great performance by Nzechiku in that 3rd round. He was just like, fuck your jiu-jitsu, man. Got these hands. Shavkat Rakhmonov, this was one of the worst physical mismatches I've ever seen.
Bill, you could say that whenever Prazeres fights in the welterweight division.
That's true. Yeah. So he gets a 2nd round submission over Michel Prazeres. This fight was like awkward to watch. This is like what I look like sparring most guys in the gym. I feel like Michel Prazeres' pain. But yeah, I mean, this was just like waiting for the inevitable to happen. It didn't seem like fair even, but I don't know. Did you see it differently, Jeff?
Bill, I was pleasantly surprised because, Prazeres, he went for what I imagine he would go for against a taller opponent, try to get him to the ground, which he did. But man, Rakhmonov was showing how well-rounded he is. He was able to get Prazeres on the ground. He was able to really push the envelope when it came to the grappling, which I didn't expect. I knew, I don't know too much about Rakhmonov, but I know that he's pretty solid on the feet. And Bill, I didn't know this heading into this fight, but all of his fights have been finishes. And this was, I believe, his 7th submission. So pretty well-rounded. He's got some finishes. through striking and some through the submission game. And
Mhm.
that rear naked choke that he got him with was dirty, man. He stepped over him, had Prazeres' arm locked down with his leg as well, and just Prazeres couldn't even go anywhere to try to
Mhm.
escape that, man. And and I loved how he was pulling Prazeres up, kind of to extend that spine. He was almost like hanging him, basically.
Yeah, it was nasty.
Yeah, absolutely vicious, man. I like this dude, Rachmanov. He's angry, Bill. I like it.
Jeff, I like your energy when we record after 10 o'clock at night. I might have to start upping my caffeine dosage so we could do this time slot more often.
It's because I don't have to be up early tomorrow.
Oh, is that what it is?
That's it, man.
Oh, well, I do. So let's get through this.
You're angry, Bill. I like it.
I'm too tired to be angry, Jeff. Jeremiah Wells looked phenomenal against Warley Alves. I was like, Jesus, how's this guy gonna hold this pace? And then he comes out and just blasts him in the second round, getting that knockout victory. This was a really impressive performance from Wells, who I have to admit was not on my radar. He comes from the same lineage as our boy Sadeko, Daniel Gracie, black belt over there in Philadelphia. So shout out to Sadeko. My former coach, technically your current coach still, once you get back on the mat. But man, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, known for his submissions, I guess, but this guy's so explosive on the feet. Obviously carries some knockout power. This guy's going to be a problem in this division, Jeff.
Yeah, Bill, this dude Wells is an absolute psychopath, dude. The pace that he had in that first round, Bill, I saw him taking some deep breaths, man. I was like, I think he might have emptied the tank. I thought Alves was going to come back in a second. And Wells was having none of it, Bill. He was furious. I liked
it. Jeff, all of these clips are going in the highlight reel, in the best of. It's just gonna be this episode because I'm not cutting up all that audio. If anybody does want to make us a best of episode, I don't know, I'll send you a free t-shirt or something if you want to do it. Anybody that wants to go through all of our 247 episodes and cut up some best, you could probably skip the first 100. there won't be any. There won't be any highlights there.
Oh man.
But yeah, it would be cool to have, like, if we skip a week at some point, and I could I'll just play our best of.
Yeah, Bill, I'm sure somebody has like transcribed all of the episodes while they were like, at work. It's probably somebody who's like a doorman during the graveyard shift, not a lot going on. So they just, they got Spotify on.
Yeah.
To our episodes, and probably somebody has it transcribed somewhere, Bill.
Yeah.
It has to.
He's got your face tattooed on his stomach.
Yeah, dude.
Anyway, if you are out there, I'll send you an MMA on the Rocks t-shirt to cover up your Jeff the Animal Wilson tattoo. Let's see. I guess we'll just go through the rest of it. I also missed the first two fights, so I can't comment on those, but we'll just give you the results. Charles Rosa split decision win over Justin James, and Damir Hasdovich getting a unanimous decision victory over Yancy Medeiros. Marcin Prachnio with a body kick KO over Ike Villanueva. Just nastiness. Nasty. Put him down, and Ike's body just shut down. It was ferocious. I loved it, Jeff. It was ferocious.
Dude, it was awesome. I loved because you actually heard it because there was no crowd, and you heard Prachnio's corner call for the switch. He switched, and the liver's on the right side for anybody who's not who forgot anatomy class, and then that left body kick, man, and you just saw Ike Ike Villanueva he was trying to keep his game face on, Bill, but he just folded up like a lawn chair and went down. And I felt like there was a couple of punches too many. Felt like the ref could have stopped this one a little sooner, Bill.
Mm-hmm.
But nonetheless, good result for Prochnio, man. That was a fun fight to watch. Let me go back and check this one out.
Yeah, for sure. And then another great fight on this card, Julia versus Julia. Basically same name, different pronunciations. Julia Avila against Julia Stoliarenko, the only Lithuanian fighter on the card, on the roster that is, born in Lithuania. This was a great fight, man, because Avila, at first was like outstriking Stoliarenko, and it seemed like Stoliarenko's only hope was to get it to the ground. But then we saw that Avila was dominant there as well, and wound up, getting a submission victory. Very emotional afterwards. Credit to Julia, who, she took a beating and kept coming forward. This fight possibly could have been stopped, at a couple of different points here because, Avila was putting it on her. But give me your thoughts on this one, Jeff.
Bill, I've been high on Julia Avila since last April or May. I can't remember which fight it was. I know she finished in like 45 seconds or something. But dude, I love the Raging Panda. Avila's awesome. She's been through a lot of controversy in her MMA career the last 15 or so months. But Bill, man, she looked great in there. She took a lot of damage. I felt like she took more damage than she needed to, but she was able to dish it out as well. And Stoliarenko, listen, that's a feather in anybody's cap at this women's bantamweight division. And I just felt like Julia Avila went in with the right game plan. She was in Stoliarenko's face, didn't give her any space to get anything going, and then on the ground, was able to get that rear naked choke, man. Just great performance all around for Julia Avila. But I'm a little biased, but I'm a big fan of hers. I like her. She's angry, but I like
it. She's an angry panda who likes to hug people. Let's see. So that'll do it for UFC Vegas 30. And then the next fight coming up, the next card coming up is not until July 10th, and that's the Poirier McGregor. So we don't have to get into detail on this one yet, since we can break it down, the week before. I think I'm in the minority here, though, Jeff. I don't care about this fight. Like, I didn't really care that they were having the rematch, and then Poirier won. He won like more impressively and like later in their career than Conor had beaten him. I feel like they're making this fight for, themselves. Like they want to settle the trilogy, but I'm just not like interested. I would, for me, this would be more of like, a co-main event. And like there are more interesting fights I'd rather see in the lightweight division. Maybe I'll change my mind building up to it, but like, there's just nothing about this fight that does it for me. But I'm also like, how do I put this? I go against like a lot of mainstream things. Like I like to see a good grappling match. I could watch, two guys grapple and scramble for 15 minutes, or I could watch a good wrestler hold somebody down for 15 minutes. So, don't go by me and by what's entertaining. I don't know. Nothing about this fight does it for me. I don't really like, I'm not excited for it.
Yeah, so. I'll be honest with you, I don't care very much for it, but I think, excuse me, it's not that I'm not interested in this fight. I definitely am. I think I don't like that it's going to be a pay-per-view event. I think they could have left it for like in a fight night or excuse me, or a Vegas card. Bill, I think part of the reason for that also is I think we've been spoiled with the last couple of cards, man. They've been really, really good and entertaining. Like last night's card was totally free. And Bill, the that I think has been outside of the pay-per-view card that we had earlier this month. I think that's been my favorite fight card in June. It's been every fight was either a decision that was like really back and forth and really excited to watch, or it was a finish that was really exciting to watch. But Bill, I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about the boxing and the bare knuckle boxing as well. That's okay with you? I guess we could leave the McGregor versus Poirier fight for next week because we got nothing, no card next week anyway. But
Yes, for sure. And before we get into any non-MMA stuff, let me just remind you guys that you can grab your MMA on the Rocks gear from our friends at Team Reaper. Website is reaper1.co. You can use the promo code MMA Rocks 10. Save yourself 10% on your whole order. You don't have to buy MMA on the Rocks gear. Of course, we would love to have you guys representing the show wherever you go, letting people know that you stay often over the top or under the influence or both. T-shirts, hoodies, and tank tops available. As always, I will put the link in the show notes so you can get directly to all of those items. And of course, they have other things as well. MMA training gear like gloves, jiu-jitsu gis, gear bags, all that cool stuff. Reaper1.co to get your MMA on the Rocks merchandise. Use the promo code MMA Rocks 10. That's MMA ROCKS10. And the reason I bring up our friends at Team Reaper, Jeff, is because a fellow Team Reaper sponsored athlete fought on bare knuckle, and my now teammate, Julian Lane, defeated Jake Bostwick last night. And defeated is an understatement, Jeff. I know you probably didn't catch this card, and I've always had mixed feelings about bare knuckle, but like they're really starting to win me over with a lot of things, and I'll get into that in a minute. But Julian Lane, you guys know him from The Ultimate Fighter. Let me bang, bro. Just let me bang, bro. Everybody remembers this. Probably one of the most memorable scenes in Ultimate Fighter history. But, he's gone on to become a bare knuckle boxer where they definitely encourage bros to bang. And Jeff, he looked so good and just beat the brakes off of this guy, Jake Bostwick, who is a hard puncher himself. British guy who now, lives in Coconut Creek, I think it is, and trains there. But Julian knocked him down in the first 2 rounds, 10-8 rounds easily for those two, split his face open. Then Julian injured his right hand at some point in the fight. I'll have to ask him about it when I see him. I don't know if it's broken or if he just sprained it or something, but he wasn't throwing it. So basically beat the guy, won the last 2 rounds with one hand, and left the guy a bloody mess. One judge gave it 50-43 was the score at the end of this. That's how dominant it was. And I gotta say I'm biased because my coach was in his corner, 2 of my coaches actually. So shout out to Matt McCusker, the owner of MJM Muay Thai, my Muay Thai instructor, and also my boxing coach and training partner, JR Ridge. Shout out to those guys for doing an awesome job in the corner and for really creating the best version of Julian Lane we've ever seen. He looked phenomenal in that BKFC ring last night, Jeff.
Bill, that's awesome, man. It's hard not to like Julian Lane. He's such a character, everybody makes fun of the, let me bang bro incident, but dude, everybody's been there. Everybody gets a little emotional. He had just had a tough loss in the fighter house, and then he had to stay there and just, basically sit there twiddling his thumbs. I mean, anybody would have been upset in that situation. And people who are not professional fighters have been very upset over lesser things. So
yeah,
we can let that slide. But Bill, I'm very excited to see Julian Lane making some money, getting the result. So good on him, man.
Yeah, and he may have earned himself a rematch with Thiago Alves, who just won the middleweight title last night in a crazy fight, Jeff. Like, I recommend going and watching this one with a guy by the name of Ulysses Diaz, who holds the record for the quickest knockout in bare knuckle history, which was 3 seconds. Him and Thiago Alves beat the fuck out of each other last night. Like, these guys were both a bloody mess. It was a war. They were both knocked down multiple times. It was crazy. Julian had fought Thiago before. This would be a rematch. So he might be fighting for the title. And, you know, I still have mixed feelings about bare knuckle boxing, Jeff. You know, I've had, you know, some good friends who have competed there. There are some things I love about it, and there are some things that I'm still, you know, hesitant about endorsing. You know, I don't like seeing the older guys coming from MMA because they have nothing else to do to make money. I don't like that. And then, you know, younger guys as well, there's a lot of risk with this sport because it's like, if you're going to win, you risk probably breaking your hand if you're going to knock somebody out. And then you also risk like all the cuts, you know, because with the bare knuckle, like it cuts the skin open so much easier. That's why elbows in MMA, you know, cut the skin so much easier. So you're going to accumulate a lot of scar tissue. You know, it's just not like a sustainable thing. And now they're starting to add in, like, they're having TikTokers and these people fight each other, which I don't care what happens to them. Like, you know, let them get their faces rearranged. Sure. I understand it from a business perspective too, because, you know, that's what's trendy right now. These people have, you know, big audiences that will watch whatever they do. So that's where I still hesitate with it, Jeff. It's still a little bit barbaric, but at the same time, it's like pretty fucking awesome that it's so barbaric. It's almost like I don't want to like it as much as I do. And then the other thing I have to say, and you know, there's no affiliation with BKFC in this show, obviously, but I did download the app, and I think it's like $4 or $5 a month. And with that, you get all of their pay-per-views. Not a bad deal, you know, because I don't think they were charging a lot for the pay-per-views before, but they were like $20 or $40 or something like that. Now you pay the $5 a month, and, you know, whenever they have a show, you get it on the app. And what I like about it, the reason I bring up the app, Jeff, is because I prefer it way better than ESPN Plus, because that app is fucking garbage. And you would think at this point, like, ESPN would work the bugs out of it or something, but what a piece of shit app. I think it's the worst app on my phone. It's the worst app on my TV. I always have problems with it, but the BKFC app, like, whoever they got to develop that, the UFC needs to like ditch ESPN and hire those people to develop their app, because I love it. The only thing I would like better is like the ESPN Plus app. If you're watching on your phone and then you go to another app on your phone, like to answer a text message or something, the video will keep playing in like a small window on your phone. If the BKFC app adds that, it's the best combat sports app out there for sure. So that's that. My other complaint about the BKFC was that, you know, there was a lot of fights and the production was a little bit off. You know, they didn't really have their timing down. So it was like midnight and they're like, and now we have our 4 title fights. And I was like, get the fuck out of here. I'm not watching all of these. But the co-main event, I guess, Hector Lombard TKO'd Joe Riggs for the cruiserweight title. And then Lorenzo Hunt got in the ring. I guess they were like, I guess this was planned, Jeff, where he was supposed to come in and confront Hector Lombard. I don't know. Did you see this? So Lorenzo Hunt comes in the ring and walks up to Hector Lombard for like the stare down and the photo op to, you know, promote that fight. And Lombard just 2 pieces him, one shot to each ear. and sends him flying back. And the best part of it was the ring announcer is like trying to play along. And he's like, "Oh, Lorenzo Hunt coming in the ring. Oh, shit." It's
Oh man,
it's such a hilarious clip. And if you're BKFC, you gotta love it because it's gonna go that much more viral. Like if they had just come in there and like stared at each other like a couple of tough Neanderthals, like nobody gives a shit about that. But Hector Lombard sees him walking towards him and he's just like bop bop. But the best part about it was the ring announcer's reaction. Because he's like, "Oh, Lorenzo Hunt coming in the ring. Oh shit." So you have to watch that, Jeff. I'm going to send you a link. But yeah, there were some good fights, but I think they just like overstuffed the card, and that, you know, the timing wasn't there. There were also some awkward things where they brought out like some of the main card guys for an interview like before their fight. So like Thiago Alves is like getting ready to fight, and they bring him over to this podium and they're like, "So, how important is this fight to you?" And he's like, just looks like he wants to kill the guy. And it's like at that point, like if you're watching it, you already paid for the app. Like there's no other way to see it unless, you know, you have an illegal stream. And at that point, you're not going to pay for it anyway. So it's like, who are you trying to win over with these interviews? Like keep the show moving. I mean, it must have ended at like 2:30 in the morning. Jeez. But congrats to my man, Julian Lane, on his victory, and congrats again to my coaches and training partners for doing such an awesome job working with him in the corner. His footwork looked phenomenal. His jab was incredible. Won the last 2 rounds with just his jab because it looked like he couldn't throw his right hand. So shout outs all around. Also, Pearl Gonzalez made her bare knuckle debut, Jeff. She won a unanimous decision, 50-45 on all judges' scorecards. Any thoughts on the bare knuckleness?
Yeah, I don't think it's a good move for Pearl Gonzalez, man. Bill, I've never subscribed to an OnlyFans, but I'm aware that she has one. So probably not the move to take a lot of damage in bare knuckle fighting if you're just gonna make money that way.
Yeah, they want to see you doing other things with your fist on OnlyFans, I think.
That sounds correct. But Bill, this conversation took a hard left that I should have been prepared for.
Yeah. Hey, this is what happens, Jeff. This is the late night version of MMA on the Rocks.
Yeah, it's MMA on the Rocks after hours.
Yeah. Maybe we should start an OnlyFans. Do they have podcasts on there?
Oh man.
Imagine you log on to this site, like looking, you know, for whatever they have on there, and you find us. Delete that app quick.
Oh man. Oh man.
It's just me, like, I'm a demigod.
Oh man. Well, you could have recorded that. That's hilarious. You're done.
So Vasily Lomachenko did some boxing last night as well, Jeff. I didn't catch this because I was, you know, UFC and like crying over my laptop and trying to watch my still Lomachenko fight. Is it worth watching, Jeff?
Oh, Bill, definitely. You know, Bill, you know me. I'm not big on boxing. I think that it has become a joke in the last 2 decades. But Bill, you know, Lomachenko, he hasn't fought in about almost a year. Hasn't fought since October 2020. You know, had a loss to Teofimo Lopez, unanimous decision. But Bill, last night he came back with a vengeance. And Bill, I didn't watch this fight last night because I don't care about boxing. I only watched it today. I watched it today, and I only watched the Lomachenko fight. But man, Bill, he was just an absolute animal in there, man. His footwork was flawless. And Bill, I think you told me this, but you know, his father taught him how to box, and then for like 5 years or something was like, yeah, you're not gonna box. You're gonna do Ukrainian step dancing to build up his footwork. Then he actually started to train him in boxing, and Bill, it has paid off because the footwork was ridiculous yesterday. And Bill, he fought against this Japanese fighter, and I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly, Masayoshi Nakatani. And Bill, I felt so bad for this dude Nakatani, man. He's taller than Lomachenko, and he was orthodox, which Lomachenko is actually a southpaw. Mark Fellow says it's ballet. It was ballet for about 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
But dude, Lomachenko just pieced this guy up, man. Nakatani, his corner, was doing a good job, but both of his eyes were really swollen. And then in the 9th round, Lomachenko just turned it up another level, man. Was just blasting him with his jab, landing a couple of really, really tough left hands. And then in the 9th round, there was one big left hand that dropped him for the last time. And Bill, just, Nakatani, he did as well as he could, but Lomachenko is just another level, man. He's one of the few boxers that I enjoy watching, man. And Bill, I go back and watch it. I think you'd enjoy that fight a lot. It's on the ESPN app, so if you can get it to work, Bill.
Yeah, right. I'd have better luck finding it on the bare knuckle app. Yeah, I do enjoy watching Lomachenko fight. I remember watching the Lopez fight. That is one of the last boxing fights I watched, and the commentary was so biased because like Lopez was clearly winning, but they were like, "Oh, but Lomachenko has a feeling out process," and then it was like the 11th round. It's like, hey, he's still feeling him out. He's gonna turn it up any minute now. And then the fight was over, and they're like, yeah, he could still turn it up on him. That's what I can't stand about boxing is like the over the top, like biased commentary, the horrible judging. Like you think we have problems in MMA with judging? Like boxing is like clearly you've been paid off. like clearly, we were talking last week about the first Tyson Fury Deontay Wilder fight. Like that was insane. Wilder won 2 rounds. Somehow it's a draw. Anyway, rant over. But yeah, I would have liked to catch that fight. Maybe if I didn't submerge my laptop, I would have been able to watch it because I was just watching the bare knuckle stuff on my phone. I mean, by bare knuckle stuff, I mean BKFC, not the OnlyFans stuff.
Oh, gosh. So we're going off the rails here, man.
Yeah, well, we're over the top. We're not under the influence, unfortunately, but next week we will be. In the meantime, Jeff, is there anything else that you want to get off your chest?
Bill, that's all I got for you this week.
Yeah, I feel like there were some other there were some news stories I wanted to talk about, but another time. We'll save it for next week. Maybe I'll even take notes, Jeff, but that's not true because I'll be back off the wagon by then. So not only will there be no notes, but I'll be sauced up again. If you guys want to get a hold of Jeff, it's at @animal_Wilson, Twitter and Instagram. You guys know how to get a hold of me. I'm a pretty findable guy at MMA on the Rocks everywhere on social media. And that's all we got. So until next time, cheers, everybody. Goodbye.